Mike, dreams, a lot of people have been having a lot of interesting dreams lately. And I've come to the conclusion that in dream time, we get symbols. Our unconscious doesn't dream in words, they dream in pictures.
Right.
And consequently, those symbols are extremely important in trying to figure out what the subconscious is trying to tell us.
And there's a couple different ways to look at that. Either it's a reflection of yourself and the processing of your daily life and the feelings and things that have gone on. It's this internal processing, or it could be both or either messages from like the other side.
Yeah, that is true.
You're in another state and they can sneak in and
yes.
Not that they control your brain, but give you messages.
Well, it's
and it's
really
not written down in a note.
Well, it's a fascinating story, and today we have Magenta Pixie. Magenta is an ascension coach and a channel well known throughout the world. Mm-hmm. And she's going to help us sort of look at that dream time, look at what's happening with our society, better understand how we as human beings can live while trying to interpret those.
And I guess at the bottom of all of this, being dreams or media and what's going on, how to inform yourself truthfully to what is going on.
That's a great thought. Magenta, welcome and thank you again for coming back on. It's always a pleasure having you talk with us because you bring a lot of different insights and understandings for many of us to better understand. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much for inviting me back. Glad to be here.
It seems like you've been pretty active in all the media around. You've had a lot of different people interview you, and it seems like you've gotten more active.
Yes, recently I've been uploading a few more videos, and it's interesting. Recently I uploaded a video in the last few weeks called the Dreamtime News Channel. I think that was the subheading of that video, actually, The Deluge, the Dreamtime News Channel. And this is exactly what you're saying. We're looking at a world with this constructed reality that's being shown to us via the media, via most of the mainstream media, pretty much all the mainstream media. We are able to discover some truthful information if we look within the alternative media, but the way to really discover the truth about what is happening within our reality is this Dreamtime News Channel, if you like, and that's being connected. And one of the ways we pick up the more subtle presentations of reality is through our dreams. And we do dream in these symbols. And the key here is to decipher what these symbols mean. That's not always so easy. But if we are connected to the higher energy, connected to truth, living within alignment, and we are sort of waking up to sensing more subtle energies, we will be able to discover the truth of reality and sort of decode that false narrative. We'll stumble across other people's information via this alternative media network, or just by synchronicity, bumping into someone, and by our own intuition and our own interpretation of energies, and very much through the dream time.
I can't agree with you enough. In the dream world, it seems that these symbols sort of hit us, but there are some dreams that are ongoing. I want to say congruent. For instance, there's one specific.
Does it carry on, or is it just a reoccurring drem?
It carries on. It
Okay.
has different.
Chapter 1's tonight, Chapter 2's the next night.
And I really enjoy those dreams.
The problem I have is I can't remember. Now, I don't know if you got any hints to, for people that don't remember things. Sometimes I'll wake up and like, wow, that was crazy. and then I'll go back to sleep, and then in the morning it's like, I don't know what that was. So write them down would be one thing, but is there a way for people like me that just like wake up and I'm gone?
Well, yes, keep a pen and paper by your bedside, and when you do wake up, write down instantly the memories, the images. If you are too tired to do that, maybe have your phone by the side of the bed, although it's not always a good thing to have electronic devices on while you're sleeping, but you could use a dictaphone or something and just pick that up and record via speech what your memories are. But there are ways that you can increase your dream recall. There are certain herbs you can take. There are crystals that you can use, certain crystals you can put under your pillow. The first thing I would look at is diet, and specifically liquids like caffeine. If that's in your if you're drinking caffeine, it can interfere with the dream state. So good dream recall is normal for a healthy, aware individual. So if your dream recall is not good, I mean, it's different if you're remembering it and then forgetting, that's different. But if you are waking up and you just don't remember, then I would be looking at your diet, your lifestyle, your sleeping pattern, everything, to see if you could make some changes to bring dream recall into your reality. But crystals work really well.
I think
which crystals are you talking about?
Do you know there's a turquoise crystal? It's quite unusual. I can't remember the name of it. It's turquoise and it's got little sort of markings, darker markings on it, and it's specifically aligned with dream recall because it aligns with the pineal gland.
Okay.
The other thing to do is to try to train your brain, if you like, to remember your dreams, to have dream recall. And you can do this by, as long as you don't have insomnia or anything afterwards, you can actually set your alarm for around 3 a.m. Depends what time you go to bed, but if you go to bed, sort of any time before midnight, then set your alarm for around 3 a.m. or 3:33 would be good, because then you've got a really good, nice, magical, geometric moment there. So set your alarm for 3:33, wake up. I would have said that in that moment when you're still tired, yet you've had a little bit of sleep, the pineal gland will be most active. You are more likely to remember your dreams then. If you wake up and there's nothing, then just keep doing this. Try this again the next night and the next night. But eventually, getting up at 3:33, you should wake up and have memories of something. And that's when you use the dictaphone or grab your pen and paper, record the memories, go back to sleep. With me, it's messages from the nine. Not always, not every night, but sometimes I will wake up and the memory will be that I'm communicating with them, and I've been communicating with them all night, and it will piece together what will be another piece of channeling. Or I will wake up and I will just feel that information is being downloaded, and that's difficult when you've got to go out, and say you have to be somewhere at a certain time and you haven't got time to write it down. So what I do is I grab my phone, I email myself, and I will just quickly remember a few concepts from that dream or that communication, whatever words it may be, anything that will trigger my memory back into that particular download. So it might just be a few sentences, a few words. I'll email myself so that when I've got some time, I can then look at that email again and then bring forward the memory of that download. But I've been practicing doing this for a long time. I started to do this consciously in 1993. I would set my alarm for 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't realize 3:33 was more potent. I knew 3 a.m. was a potent time. I didn't realize 3:33 would have been the perfect time. I would absolutely recommend you do this, and this will train your brain, your mind into remembering. And then you'll find you won't need to set your alarm. You will start to remember, because the DNA, the brain, knows what you are doing, especially if you talk to yourself as well before you go to sleep. I will remember my dreams. I am remembering my dreams. My dream recall is excellent. You say these things over and over as you're falling asleep. and then work with the 333. If you're having problems and you're not getting back to sleep again after you've woken up, then obviously have a rethink. But if you can go straight back to sleep, then that's great.
I think also
you need
one
a
of the things that,
understanding significant other.
yeah, I think also remembering the emotion
Yeah.
that corresponds to, if you wake up and you had a pleasant dream, but you're
upset or
yeah.
happy or
yeah.
panicked.
Yeah. I think that also.
Absolutely. Yeah, the emotion is in itself one of the biggest clues to decoding that dream. So you've got the visuals, the symbols, the colors, and the emotions simultaneously. All of those are all to be decoded together, because like you said about having these recurring dreams that carry on from one another, there might be different emotional states within the same dream time fabric. I mean, people can create buildings, houses, if not fields, countries, special places that they revisit. I have a house that I've been visiting since childhood. It doesn't exist anywhere in this reality, but it's in my dream space, so I know that house very well, and I've learned to understand what that house means. And buildings are used because this is all part of this language of light, if you like.
And symbolism.
The DNA, communicates with us, or we communicate with it via symbolism. And it's really frequency. It's frequency that is the communication. And we decode that frequency with symbolism and with emotion. That's why emotion and symbolism together are so important. So these symbols are universal. These archetypal symbols are universal. It's the language of light. It's the language of the DNA, the universal cosmic language. So houses, buildings are really common. So if you dream of a building, a house, is it somewhere you know? Do you feel safe there? Do you feel fearful there? What does it look like? Have you got fresh paintwork and beautiful flowers and nice looking ornaments and pretty carpets? Or is it all falling apart with the paint peeling off and the woodwork is old? And that's the sort of thing to look for. And write all this down. You will find if you keep a dream diary and you write your dreams down every night, you will see a pattern, because as you were saying, Patrick, these are pieces of a picture. The dream time is another reality that we visit. And, well, within dream time, there are several realities. It's a multidimensional reality, several timelines, and we can piece these together. If we haven't got to the stage where we can do this without writing it down or recording it, you can get to that stage where you can, piece together these dreams and remember which timeline you're in when you're becoming multidimensionally aware. But when this first happens, my advice is record your dreams down. And if you're not remembering your dreams, do what I suggested for Mike, set your alarm for 333. Obviously, if you have got a significant other there, then warn them in advance. I'm going to be setting the alarm for 3:30 in the morning. Then they can sleep in another room if they want to.
It's interesting. You had indicated certain kinds of foods sort of stimulate that dream time. We also see that listening to the news or listening to some kind of strange story also plays a part in that dream time, wouldn't you say?
Well, and the other thing I would probably wonder is there's a lot of people that go to sleep to music or with the TV on, and how does that affect what you're thinking if you go to sleep with the TV on?
Yeah.
Which you probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching a film, certain characters within that film can come into your dream time. Certain emotions you may have felt when you were watching the film can come into the dream time. The energy of having electronics on late at night can affect the quality of sleep and can affect the dream time as well. Gaming, when you're playing computer games, that really does affect the brain patterns, because I've got two boys. both young adults now, but when they were sort of in their mid-teens, I mean, they were obsessed with gaming. And a couple of times I'd join in and play the computer game with them till late. And the minute you go to sleep, all you can see is the game just running around really fast. And it does affect the ability to move into the deeper layers of dream time, because dream time is a layered reality. I mean, it's not, it's just the metaphor of how to explain it to us here in the third dimension is used by saying that the dream time is a layered reality, because there are different, really what's happening is you're going into different brainwave states when you're asleep. And there are harmonics, subharmonics within those brainwave states. So if you see the brainwave states as a externalized, fabric of reality, then you'd see that as layers. So you were saying earlier, is the dream an accumulation of what you've been doing in the day, films you've been watching, people you've been seeing, ideas that you've had circulating, worries about the things you need to do? That's kind of the first layer of the dream time. It's just the subconscious mind sorting out the periphery of reality that the subconscious mind has noticed that your conscious mind hasn't noticed, and it's showing you perhaps that which you've missed and sorting everything out. And then there's another layer to the dream time, which is more of a clairvoyant aspect, which is picking something up that hasn't happened yet, dreaming emotionally of something that actually doesn't happen for another week or another month, or something that's going to happen the next day, or meeting people that have already passed over, moving into this spirit dream connection, or meeting the higher dimensional aspect. Or we can be going even further and actually becoming conscious of our dreams, moving into astral projection, out-of-body experience, lucid dreaming, actually coming out of the body in our own bedroom, exploring the house, flying outside of the window, exploring other countries, leaving Earth, exploring other planets, and then we can actually start to move away from the third dimension completely and move into other dimensions in our dreams as well. So it's a layered reality, just like reality. In fact, the Nine would say that when you look at reality in the waking state and you look at the dream time is much closer to the truth of reality. In fact, the dream time is the truth of reality, really. It's just that when we're here in the third dimension, it's not conducive to our growth to see the dream time as the true reality and to see the waking state as illusion, even though that's true. That is what it is. But for us to actually function here, what we need to do, and what most people do, is see this reality, the waking reality, as the real world. And the dream time is just nothing. It's just a dream. It means absolutely nothing, and it's not analysed. So their energy is placed within the waking state. Then you have people who wake up spiritually and start to understand how important the dream time is, and sometimes they can flip over and see the dream time and the trance state and the meditation state as far more important than the waking state. But the way forward for us is to see both of these realities as equal. So when we wake up from an amazing dream, even if it's been lucid and we've been on other planets and we've had our heart open and we're feeling bliss, there is a tendency to wake up and feel disappointed. Oh no, I'm back in my physical body, I'm trapped again. But the way forward is to wake up and think, great, I'm back in the physical body. Now I have a waking day to experience, and all the riches that life brings within the third dimension. And then when we go to sleep, we embrace the dream time. It's almost like you become aware spiritually for the entire 24 hours a day. It's not like you're switched on 1 minute and off the next. You simply flip from matter to antimatter. And both of these realities, the waking state and the dream time, present the riches for you as a soul to experience. So really important, the dream time.
Do you find...
So I was going to say, my wife has had these premonition type dreams. I don't know, if it was 15 years ago or so. She dreamed, my grandmother lived in Germany, because she's German, and she, I don't know, in the summertime said, I had this dream, and told my mom, which my grandmother's my mother's mother, I dreamed that Oma came over and we were having Thanksgiving dinner with her. And it's like, oh, that's funny, that could never happen. And within another month or so, she did something with her heating blanket and burned her apartment down. She needed someplace to go, got her on a plane over here, and guess what? We had Thanksgiving dinner with my grandmother.
Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Do you find that we as human beings do a lot of daydreaming when we're doing mundane tasks, whether we're driving down the road, doing dishes, mowing the lawn?
Which is a hypnotic state,
Yeah,
possibly,
yeah.
because you're just,
Yeah. We go into that pre-level. We start daydreaming, and music, news sort of channels our thoughts, etc. And do you find that the daydreams are the beginning of our dreams at night? Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and it can be. The daydreams can be the beginning to the nighttime dreams, or connected in some way. What you're doing is you are staying in the waking state, but you're moving into these changes in brainwaves. So you're expanding, if you like, the brainwave state into this antimatter state. And this is the time when we can pick things up clairvoyantly. I mean, if you're spiritually aware, this is the time you'll be getting downloads. Often when you're doing the dishes, as you say, or you're having a shower, or relaxing in the bath, or driving, the mind starts to think and sort things out. It's the same thing as dreaming, only obviously your conscious mind is the mind, the aspect of your mind that's in control at that time, rather than the subconscious mind. What you actually do here when you move forward spiritually is the conscious mind is always in the front, if you like, with the subconscious mind working in the periphery, in the background. And then when you sleep, that switches, and the subconscious mind takes over while the conscious mind takes a rest. But when you move into this daydream state that you talk about, that can be likened to a light trance, a deeper way of thinking, and you start to work with this consciously as part of your spiritual development and your psychic development, then the subconscious mind and the conscious mind stand side by side. There isn't this one is in front of the other. It's like when you are awake, I don't mean all the time, but when you're awake, when you're channeling, if you like, when you're communicating with higher beings, that's when the subconscious mind and the conscious mind are both simultaneously activated. And when that happens within the dream state, then that's a lucid dream, because you are aware that you are dreaming, because the conscious mind is fully active as much as the unconscious mind, subconscious mind. So that's the state of, well, the nine call this genius flow or genius patterning. This is the state of the genius who has an expanded left hemisphere of the brain, expanded right hemisphere of the brain, equal conscious and subconscious mind working together simultaneously. That's the ascension process. That's enlightenment. That's the process we're all on. And that's the reason we're here within this constructed third dimensional reality, so that we can learn to integrate all the aspects of ourselves and come to this point of awareness where we move into this oneness with ourselves, this integration within ourselves, which takes us into integration with source and with all things. So yes, that daydreaming state's really important, and it's something that's, sorry to interrupt you, Mike, but it's something that's shut down in us as children. You know, when we're sat in school, teachers like, stop daydreaming. What are you staring out the window for? Get back to your lesson. Honestly, I was told off so many times and sent out the room. I had to stand in front of the wall because but to me, I wasn't daydreaming. I was in another reality. You know, I was communicating with fairies, and I was in trouble all the time at school for that. Most starseeds would probably be the same.
You know, Mike, I can also see a danger in the fact that since daydreams we're being sort of channeled. And as Magenta is pointing out, we're sort of picking up things indirectly or on a subconscious level, etc. It is highly possible that some of our media sources or some of the programming that's currently going on, political wise or something, can create danger.
Right.
In the fact that we're potentially being misled or led in a direction that we don't know we're being involved in.
Right, because the media is owned by companies who have agendas and would like you to think certain ways. Just like commercials, we want you to buy these things. In a political nature, we would like you to believe certain things so that they could, start a war or, change things to their benefit.
I find that interesting. What do you think, Magenta?
I wouldn't say it's highly probable. I would say it's definite.
I was just being nice.
Yeah, I know. I know you were. I try not to think in absolutes and definites. I try to remain as open as possible to all possibilities, but to remain open to the possibility that the media is not controlled and it's not deliberately infiltrating us and not deliberately trying to create a control of our own thoughts. It's difficult to remain open to the possibility that that's not happening when there's so much evidence on all levels that that is happening, especially when your own connection and your own source is showing you this. This is one of the main messages that the Nine have come through with, and a lot of this information's in my book as well. So it's absolutely, as you say, the media is controlled by corporations, and these corporations are controlled by these service to self structures, families, whatever you want to call them. It's not fully controlled to the point where it's absolutely shut off on every level. Sometimes the light can get in, but it's mostly controlled. And so the agenda behind that is to create a reality for the people watching this media. And that is to control their thoughts so that they construct within the daydream, within the dream time, within their paradigm and their belief systems, they construct a belief system, and then they make their judgments and their opinions based on that belief system that they've constructed. And that belief system is based on what they see and how they interpret what they see. And that structure, that original created structure, is a false reality. It is not the truth of reality on any level, whether it's history, health, science, politics, and we certainly know it's not true there. I mean, it's just a false narrative on all levels.
It's easier to do it, I think, in the United States because we are so insulated from other countries. It's like other countries are a different world. When you live in Europe, it's like another state. It's like right next door is, Germany or Poland or Italy, or they're just like a drive away. Here, it's a world away. And so it's easier to tell those stories.
That's been deliberately fabricated as well, though. I mean, that's also part of this, control system as well. That's part of the agenda, to actually make countries feel isolated so that they need to join together with these bigger super states that are going to look after them and help them, making them think they can't cope on their own. I know within America it's bigger, but obviously a lot of people in the US will talk. I often see this on the media. They will say things like, this is the case in the whole of America. And I always think it's like the mindset of a lot of American people is like America's the world. And when I watch that, I think, it's yes, it's true, but it's the whole world that's being affected. It is true that the US is like, if you were to look at the planet Earth as a sort of flat plane rather than a globe, and there is obviously there are people out there that believe that that's actually the case, and who knows, That's a strange one, but anyway, that's another subject. So imagine the Earth is a flat plane, and if you look at the energy, the placement of energy, America would be in the center. I know that's not the case geographically, but energetically, if you look at the energy of these countries, the US is right in the center. And I'm showing from the 9, it's kind of like, you know, when you take water out of the bath and the bath swirls down the plug hole, yeah? It's like this swirl, like this spiral, and then the intensity is much faster. It's an intense quickening in the middle as the last bit of water goes down the plug hole. It's like, that's America. This intensity here is America. And we are on the periphery energetically, Europe and all the other countries. So we're getting like the ripple effect of the energy, but you in the US are right in the middle of the intensity.
Huh.
However, I am told from the 9, the starseeds that chose to incarnate within the US did so knowing that they would be right in the center of this this intensity when it comes to this ascension shift, and they all are equipped with the ability to deal with the fact that they are living in this intensity. And some of us are in other countries, as in space, but we are very heavily involved energetically with the energy in America, and that would be myself. And I've known for a long time, right back, it was in 1993, I was told of my involvement energetically with the US and how that would be part of my future and my life. And yet I haven't even visited in this lifetime. But my energy is very invested with you in the US because of the work I do. Most of the people I talk to are, you know, in your country.
That's interesting.
One of the things I try and teach in my classes, which I teach television and movie production, radio production, is if they can go away with like one useful thing other than like knowing how to make a film, is to be an active listener or active watcher. You know, so many people just sit back and let the information flow in without examining or listening. I mean, listen and watch. You know, it's like you're watching your children do something with a little bit of anticipation or knowing that, what are you guys doing? And you should watch the movies and the news and everything like that and see exactly what the narrative is that they're trying to create, especially when they are promoting some sort of fear or boogeyman. That's usually, it's done for a reason. And like I tell my classes with movies, whether it's what they're wearing or what's on the set, nothing is an accident. It's all there for a reason, for symbolism or something. And if you become an active watcher or listener, then you can start to notice these things. And when you're watching the news, look at what is opinion and what is fact. You know, what are the facts? If you can back it up with statistics and stuff, okay, I'll believe that. If it's just, I think this or I think that, well, that's not news. That's only opinion. And don't take that as news. You know, there's narratives that are people try to push to make the group believe things. And so open your eyes and your ears and look and watch the adjectives that people use to describe things. That can sway your subconscious to think something is good or bad, depending on just the adjectives of what they use to describe it.
You know, I think you bring up a very good point, especially if we are so used to slipping into that daydreams. You know, I notice that if and whenever I sit down at the news, we are encapsulated in that emotional event. Let's suppose somebody's in a horrific accident, etc. Our heart sort of goes with the victims and things of that nature.
And the news plays on that. They'll
Yes,
show you
they do.
pictures.
Yes,
and,
you're
oh,
right.
you know how nice this person
That's
was
right.
and they got killed by this
That's
other
right.
person.
And so the media has sort of taught us to move into that daydreaming state, just like what
Yeah,
you're
the
saying.
news is emotional. It's not
Yes.
informational.
That's right. And so consequently, what you're saying is that it's very difficult when we hear this political person is a saint and this political person is not a saint.
Hitler.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the biggest thing now. It's like let's label people Nazis and Hitler.
That's right. And that sort of sways our emotions. And, you know, like what you're talking about with that energy, I agree with you. You know, the United States has a tremendous amount of energy, but I think also Britain, England, Europe, Asia.
Well, we're a media power. You know, Hollywood
yes,
and all that is a media power. Yeah. England would be probably a close second, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we see ourselves as a sister country to you know, the UK.
Yeah.
We're sort of an extension of you, it really. You know, we speak the same language. But what you were saying about the daydream state, that daydream state takes you into a state of suggestibility. Anyone who's studied hypnosis will know that when you're in deep relaxation and you move into a hypnotic state, you're in a state of suggestibility where suggestions can be placed into your mind,
yes.
And you are far more likely to accept them as real because it's the subconscious mind that you're communicating with. Now, this is what happens to humans naturally, as you say, in the daydream state. When you're staring in front of the television, you are naturally going into a daydream state. You are naturally going into a hypnotic state because you're staring at a TV screen, all relaxed at the end of the day. And so you are more susceptible to, you know, quote unquote, mind control, if you like, from what's on the screen. And it's not just the news, it's films and dramas as well. If you watch a lot of the dramas, you can see that while they're a fantastic drama with amazing actors, there is this hidden agenda that you know, when you're aware, you can tell that there's a hidden agenda within this particular drama that the powers that were, if you like, want you to. You can see where it's infiltrating you.
You're absolutely
correct. It's like certain belief systems that they want us to have. They will place within dramas and films as well as within the news. So that's part of this whole reality that we're shown. So if we see a drama with a concept, a belief system, again and again and again, we will start to believe that that belief system is real or normal because we've seen it so often within fiction, and then we'll see something similar within fact on the news. Therefore, we then cross-reference, or I think you call it due diligence in America, is it?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you do your due diligence and you work out in your mind without even thinking that must be real, and you formulate a paradigm without even knowing. You don't even know that you've created that belief system, and you have no idea that this is a false reality. And it's only when you wake up spiritually, and you can either wake up to the truth first and then wake up spiritually, or you wake up spiritually and then discover that that reality is not as it seems. Both of these are different pathways in, but anyone who is aware that reality is not as it seems is waking up to the next level of reality and making this, you know, then they start to see the true reality, and their paradigms are formulated from very different presentations. They get to the point where you can watch the news and not be, even if you go into that relaxed, suggestible state, you're aware straight away. You're doing what Mike said. You're looking, analysing what people are saying. Same with dramas and films. I mean, many people in the spiritual community don't watch the news anymore at all. They will find their news from alternative news media, which is what I do. If I do watch the news, it's only to discover confirmation that the news is still controlled. And I will sit and watch it and think, yeah. And, you know, you could maybe find the odd news channel that is a little bit, perhaps a bit more open. Sometimes it can become quite painful to watch this false narrative play out in front of you when you can see it so clearly, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, I can't watch this. It's just, And also, I don't know if other people feel this. I'm sure they do. But when I look at the false narrative playing out, adults presenting this false narrative, to me, it's like children playing in a nursery school, because the game that they're playing is so transparent and so obvious. When you become aware, it's like a child saying, "Mummy, I didn't eat all the cookies. I promise." When you know your child ate all the cookies out of the biscuit jar, they're saying, "I swear I didn't. I promise it was my teddy bear." It's the same thing. When you see these people on the news, it's like, how does anyone believe this?
You just want to shake and go, "Hello, wake up."
Yeah.
Well, it is interesting. We have been teaching our children to get into that pseudo dream state through the video games and things of that nature. I found out something, Steve.
And I think that too is a distraction.
Yeah.
To so that you're consumed by this and you're not worried about the news or whatever.
That's right.
The other thing I wanted to say too, if you don't mind, is have you seen lately what YouTube and Twitter and people have done there as far as trying to control the fake news or the alternative news sources and putting them in restricted mode or demonetizing those things to downplay that? Because actually a lot of these sources are getting more hits than the actual supposed real news. The big corporations, these news producers on YouTube and Twitter are getting better numbers, and it's threatening the narrative and the money, the income that the regular old
Sure.
news sources have.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm fully aware that is happening, actually. With your first point about computer gaming, it's interesting. Like most things, there's light and dark in everything. And with the computer gaming, I completely agree with you, and you're correct. It's a distraction. So it's like I'm more interested in my computer points and this raid I need to go on. And I don't really care what's happening on the news. I need to get on my computer game. So all of that's a distraction. But having said that, the light is infiltrating everywhere. It's counteracting this false narrative, and it's in computer games as well. And I know people that have been awakened spiritually via the path of computer gaming. So there's a positive side to it as well. And if you do have a look at some of these computer games, there is a reflection of truth on a higher spiritual level that is shown within some of these games. Not obviously all of them, the violent ones and the shooting ones, but some of these more fantasy type games have actually got some lovely spiritual truths there.
Yeah,
so there's light within that thread.
Is true.
What you're saying about YouTube, yeah, I mean, I've become aware of that. I've been following a couple of people on YouTube that are speaking in a sort of political teaching in a more of an alternative sense. So I've been watching them. Well, I'll tell you, I've been watching this guy called Sticks, Hex and Hammer 666, and I really love his videos. He's kind of like pagan. I refer to him as a fourth dimensional ambassador because he's decoding the fourth and the third dimension, but that's a whole other point. But he talks very politically and also a lot about the occult and everything. And then one of his videos I came across talking about exactly what you're saying, Mike. So I then did a bit more research to discover that this is being spoken about by lots of different people, and that they were targeting PewDiePie, who is the biggest YouTube, person out there. He's got the most views out there. And so I started to do a little bit more research, and then I thought, well, I'm going to go and look at my videos, because someone said that any political video that's controversial, as in favouring Donald Trump in any way, are demonetizing the videos. Anyone who is favouring Hillary Clinton or a different,
going with the mainstream narrative.
Yeah, so I went and looked at my Donald Trump video that I did, Donald Trump, the Illuminati, the media, and the starseeds, and that, while it hadn't been demonetized per se, someone had actually made a copyright claim on it, and the monetization is going to them. And the copyright claim was on a tiny little bit of stock footage that was used at the very end and yet it's an hour-long video, and the actual stock footage was like a second long. I haven't done anything about it because I'm feeling that if they can't demonetize you, then they'll monetize it elsewhere. And I feel that, okay, fair enough, I'll just make another advert on the end using a different stock footage. What I mean is, everything you're saying is correct, Mike. If they can get you through some kind of copyright claim, or they demonetize you, or they'll look at the ads, the advertisements that were on your monetization, they're now leaving. The ads are pulling out of YouTube. It's becoming more corporate. In fact, some people are talking about YouTube becoming, the plan is for them to become YouTube TV. Mm-hmm. And so the bigger corporations have seen that there's a vast audience to be had via YouTube and money to be gained, and so they want that. The point is, the original content creators like myself didn't go onto YouTube to make money. That wasn't what we were there for. It's simply just a platform, a small energy exchange for what you're doing. So if you monetize your ads, then it's a little bit of extra to help you, but it isn't the main reason that you're speaking. But this guy that I've been listening to, Sticks, Hex and Hammer 666, was talking about backing up your videos on another platform. So double uploading or triple, quadruple uploading or whatever. There are other smaller video platforms out there, so that if YouTube becomes corporate owned and becomes the very thing that individual content creators and content viewers wanted to get away from. They wanted to move away from television, away from mainstream news, and listen to the individual creators who have something to say, because everyone has something to say. Everyone has a story to tell. So why shouldn't they be out there with their individual content? You don't have to like what they're saying. You don't have to agree with what they're saying, but they should be allowed to speak.
That's one of the things. They should be allowed to
say what they want to say. So I've started backing up my videos on this other platform called VidMe. I've been double uploading now. I'm just following the advice of these others. I'm not saying that YouTube is going to change to the point that we can't upload. I love YouTube. I think YouTube's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But the reason why it's fantastic is because of the individual content creators and the stories that they have to tell, or the humor they're delivering, or the teachings they're delivering. I think YouTube is amazing. But if it becomes corporate, then it's becoming the very thing that we all went to YouTube to escape.
Right.
So, personally, I don't think it will be as bad as some of the people are saying, as in it will be fully controlled and they're pushing us all out. But there is some truth to this, so I think we need to just be aware. And if there is another independent content creator out there like VidMe, and there's others, there's Minds.com, and there's several others, then support them as well. Absolutely.
I tend to agree.
The other thing that Twitter is doing, just to mold a narrative, is say like on Donald Trump's controversial Twitter account. If he'll tweet something, and then there'll be a certain group that says we like that. There'll be a certain group that says he's an idiot. So what happens is they've changed something in the programming that brings the negative to the top and pushes the positive to the bottom, so that you see what he said and then a whole bunch of dissent, so that when you look at the initial thing, well, nobody likes it, when at the bottom there is a lot of people that do like it. And so they form the narrative by promoting dissent, I guess. Exactly.
Another thing they're doing, I don't know if it's happened over in the States, but it's happening in the UK, where they are creating like a protected, restricted mode within your ISP. So you automatically have like a children's safety protection within your internet service provider. So if you say want to go and search something on Google, you won't find anything that you're looking for. Say you put in a controversial alternative speaker, that won't come up because it'll have gone into this restricted mode. You have to actually go into your ISP settings to tick that you don't want that protected mode, so that you can get back on Google and look for anything. So it's becoming harder to search. So you're looking
Right.
at search engines. I mean, some of the search engines are anonymous, so you can surf anonymously. But if you're using Google, everything's tracked. So, but when I speak to the Nine about this, because obviously they told me, back in 2008 about the new media being the internet and it being a platform for these starseeds and awakened individuals to connect together and work with one another as we assist to decode this narrative and bring down this false presentation in our reality and ascend forward. So I spoke to them and I said, well, what's happening? If the independent communities online are getting controlled, what do we do? And the Nine have said to me, there will always be a back door, as in the front door being mainstream media, so the back door is YouTube. If YouTube then becomes taken over by the corporate machine and becomes a front door, then there's another back door. It's almost like the starseeds are hopping over here, and then the corporate are realizing, they've run away, let's go back and get them. And as soon as they try to get us, we leap elsewhere. The Nine assure me that will always be the case, that we can always connect with one another. There will always be a way. That's the energy, the frequency of this planet isn't something that is tangible. This is coming in from, the center of the galaxy, that is changing the energetics of this entire planet. So these lower frequencies that are corruption, greed, control, they aren't sustaining. Everything's backfiring.
I tend to agree with what you're saying. One of the concerns that I have, we all work at a university or being associated with a university. One of the concerns that I see is, as we have been teaching our children to rely upon our electronics, whatever, they are becoming unaware. As Mike was talking, it's interesting. Steve Jobs, he invented the iPhone. Steve Jobs would not permit his children to play with it. Also in California, at some of the high-tech companies, their executives, when they look for a school, they put their children in schools that do not have electronics. And I very much agree with what you're saying. We need to have those platforms to instruct, and there will always be. It's too bad that many of our youth have been taught to immediately go to their electronics and not think for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, there's electronics, children that are so little now. You can get little interactive electronic toys for babies still in their cots, so they've grown up with it. I totally agree with you. Like everything, there's a positive and a negative side to it. It was created originally as a form of control. Some of that's backfiring as it's actually assisting with an awakening, but some of it is creating a dumbing down. And as you say, it's making the children unaware. So there's this negative energy and this positive energy within everything. And it's obviously up to parents and caregivers of the children to, responsibly work with this. And I'm guilty of this. My sons, my two younger sons, who, as I said, are now in their early 20s, they are absolutely, when they were in their teens, they were addicted to these games. It was so difficult to get them off the games. And yet both of them have gone into computer work as part of their further studies and their career. So I kind of half knew, let them be. They need to work in this arena, but half of me was thinking, I need to get them off their computers. They haven't seen the light of day,
Sure.
It's not easy, because the computer gaming also has light within it. The internet has light within it, the smartphones and everything. And that's how we're connecting and reaching one another. But the flip side to that is, turning everyone into zombies. So it's about our own responsibility and assisting the people around us and finding that balance, like in everything else. Really not easy to do, I have to say. I mean, I'm online a lot, probably far too much than I should be. I told
Yeah,
you
but
this morning I woke
you're
with a headache.
you're doing active things. You're taking
Yeah.
you're pushing a personal agenda because of what you believe.
I am, and utilizing the positive aspect of the connection, but I'm probably in front of a computer screen a little bit too much. I need to get out in nature a bit more.
Yeah. That's one thing I say whenever I have grandchildren. I'm not getting them electronic things. I'm not going to get them a car that makes its own noise. Just inanimate things like building material, Lincoln Logs or whatever, so that they can be creative with it
Yeah,
and
that's a
not
good
be
idea.
shown
That's a good
and
idea.
make you a zombie. They have to make up things. They have to make the sounds. They have to use the doll that you can't just pull the string that it says things. You have to say it for it. And so it stimulates the mind.
Their imagination.
Right.
If they're constantly on these games, they don't need an imagination.
You're more passive.
And yet, I have to say, my boys who have grown up with heavy computer gaming, their imaginations are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're wonderful boys, and they are both spiritually connected. So I feel that there is also this kind of safety mechanism within some of these starseeds. Some of these individuals, they are supposed to go into that system in order to create light within it and bring the light forward.
Yeah.
So there is so many different ways of looking at this. So it is about finding that balance and, having your child have non-electronic things, choosing what age you feel they're ready to have electronics. I've got a granddaughter of 11. She's become so obsessed with her iPad, constantly taking little videos of herself dancing around, and and you have to sometimes say, look, you've been on it too long now, read a book. And yet my granddaughter, even though I look at her when she's got this iPad with her all the time, and her mum is like, she's on it too much and it's bad for her, there isn't any pushing down of her growth. Her imagination is great. She does read books. She's highly intelligent. She has an open heart. Her energy system is good. So you need to know your child or the children around you.
I agree.
You can tell if they've had too much computer, electronic use.
It's
you can
getting
tell
unhealthy.
if they're dealing with it. It's all about being energy sensitive and being aware of that balance for the individuals that you are responsible for. If it's your children, your grandchildren, and yourself, your partner, it's about being sensitive to the energies and seeing. And with yourself, if you've had too much computer exposure, then you'll know. Sometimes you need to sort of turn everything off and take a couple of days away from that and recharge, because you can pick up like these EMFs, this lower frequency from over computer use. So getting outside and standing barefoot on the grass can instantly wipe all that EMF energy off your body. You can buy grounding mats that do the same thing. So when you're on your computer, you can have your feet on a grounding mat, or you can put grounding crystals like obsidian under your feet, bare feet, while you're on the computer. You can have amethyst crystals around the computer to soak up the energies. There's lots of different things you can do. And if you're worried about this, the information about the antidote is out there. And this is what the 9 again say. There's an antidote for everything. There is a counteracting of that darker negative energy everywhere. It's like the energies are working like this. It isn't a case of we're consumed with negative energy and here we are and just a few of us trying to struggle to survive. No, there's negative and positive, and they're equal. And when you really look, the positive is slightly more, if not quite a bit more. And that's how it's been since kind of coming into this 2012 energy. The positive energy is outweighing the negative. It's difficult to see when we look around, and it's like, where do we discover this? Where do we find this? It's our own knowing and our own connection that's going to tell us this, that the positive is outweighing the negative. And when we move into despair, then, and that's very easy to do. I mean, when I woke up this morning and I saw the news that America had sort of sent some missiles over to Syria, and I thought about that, and I thought, oh goodness, the 9 was saying to me that this occurs, and it kind of reinforces the personal feeling of the individual. So if an individual's already struggling with their own reality, you know, they're struggling with their own challenges and they're feeling down because of the stresses of their own life, which again is part of this control system, and then the global situation presents something that counteracts and matches their own stress, then they can move into despair. So it's easy to succumb, and you have to always be one step ahead and realize that nothing is as it seems. It is a false reality, and the only way that we can free ourselves from this false reality is to continue to add energetically to this positive reality, and that is constantly feeling and looking for the positive and feeling joy, working with the lower emotions, constantly adding to that positive energy without skimming above it. You know, if you know what I mean. Without ignoring the dark side and thinking, oh, I'm fine, I don't need to look at that, I'm feeling bliss, I'm so spiritual. It's not the bypassing, it's the integration of it. When you integrate everything and you feel the higher emotions, you are creating a different reality. And so it might not look that way on the surface, but that is what's happening within this undercurrent of energy.
I very much agree with what you're saying. We have to take the bull by the horns. We're speaking with Magenta Pixie. She's an ascension coach and a channeler of the 9. Great set of YouTubes on magentapixie.com. Magenta has a book. What is the book's name again?
Masters of the Matrix.
Masters of the Matrix. And I'd like to have you come back on and we can talk more about how the negative forces of the media sort of disrupt our lives. And we have to, as people, do something about it.
Right. Just like I try and teach my classes, you have to be active and not passive.
That's right. I tend to agree. Magenta, it's always a pleasure having you on, and I thank you very much for allowing your time to work with us. So,
thank you. That's fantastic. I'll love to come and speak. I think you're doing so well with a forum of reality. You've had such interesting guests. So,
well, you're one. Thumbs up. Well, again, thank you, Magenta. I'm Patrick.
I'm Mike, and thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.